you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, the Iron Lady sings, that makes it official. Welcome to the big show. As always, the Chris Voss Show is a family that loves you and doesn't judge you, at least not as harshly as the rest of the world. Go to Goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTok, and all those crazy places on the internet. Today, an amazing young man on the show. We're going to be talking about his new book that's out May 6, 2025. It is called 1,000 Natural Shocks. Omar Hussain joins us on the show today. We're going to get into it with him and talk about his new book, what's inside of it. Omar is a writer from the San Francisco Bay Area, living in Ann Arbor, Michigan. He holds an MFA in creative writing from NYU. His debut novel, 1,000 Natural Shocks, was recently named by Seattle Times as a thrilling debut to pick up the spring bookbub as one of the best mystery and thrillers of spring 2025. Goodreads is one of the 2025's biggest mysteries and thrillers. Criminal Element as one of the unmissable mysteries of 2025, and a Strand Magazine's best of spring pick, and one of Murder Mayhem's most anticipated mystery books of 2025. His short fiction has been published in over a dozen literary journals, including Jellyfish Review, X-Ray Magazine, and Dream Noir, among others. Welcome to the show, Omar. How are you?
I'm doing great, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. We really appreciate it. Give us your .coms. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
Omar_R_Hussain on Instagram. I'm on X, just at Omar Hussain, and that's it for right now.
And so, give us a 30,000 overview. What's in the book?
Yeah. So, 1,000 Natural Shocks really, for me, begins as like a series of conceptual questions. Really, I wrote it trying to answer these three questions, which are as follows: if you could forget your life's biggest regret or worst memory, would you? And if you did, would it change you? And as it was changing you, would you have any control over what you became next? And so with that, the book follows Dash, who's a journalist in Monterey, California, who's after the answers to these questions, and in so doing becomes entangled in a cult-like organization. He knows it's a cult, but he goes along with it anyway because they offer an alluring transaction, really. They're offering 4 pills that, when taken once a week, erase a quarter of your memory, starting with your earliest memory in life, moving toward the present.
Wow.
In exchange for those pills, though, he has to do some fairly nefarious things for them. And while this is happening, there's a mysterious figure. It feels familiar in some ways, but he can't quite place any specifics with it. And this figure is stalking him. And as matters with the cult and this figure are intensifying, he stumbles onto the truth of what's going on with the cult-like organization. And at that moment, Dash really has to figure out what he wants to be, and really what it means to be good. What does it mean to be good vis-a-vis the memory he wants to forget, and what does it mean to be good in contrast to all the chaos he's created to that point? And the answer to those questions are the key for him unlocking his own madness, really.
Oh, wow. So, I mean, this is a pretty unique plot, right? You've come up with here, I think.
There's a lot going on. I mean, there's certainly strands here. I mean, there's the piece with the cult. There's the piece with the mysterious figure that, kind of turns into a bit of the dormant serial killer of Monterey, California, known as the Coast Killer in the book. And he's trying to balance all this while rebooting his life.
I mean, it'd be a great way to get out of the trauma of your childhood. It seems, we talk about it on the show with psychologists today, these days, childhood trauma and stuff. And so it'd be kind of cool if you could erase maybe I don't know, I guess you'd have to erase everything, right? With the first pill, right? It erases the first
quarter. Yeah. So that's the deal. He doesn't get to just remove that one memory.
Yeah. You just wipe it all.
Yeah. They promise to start him. They promise to start anybody who goes through this off in a new location under a new alias and new life,
Ah,
kind of fully set, but you don't know, what happened in your previous, time on this planet. They fill your head with something different.
oh, wow. This sounds pretty interesting. I know a lot of married guys who like to take this pill. Uh, married jokes. So pretty good. What inspired you to come up with this devious plot?
Well, I think there's a few things. I mean,
Who hurt you, Omar?
yeah, right. Let's get into that on a podcast. The story was sort of a part of the story, the part where there's this mysterious figure stalking him in Monterey, California, which is where I lived for about 6 or 7 years. I grew up in California, and the last 6 years I lived in the state was in Monterey. And, everyone thinks about the town in a very idyllic kind of coastal, beautiful beach setting, awesome houses overlooking the ocean kind of thing. And that is true. Yeah. And it is kind of a very soft landing spot if you can manage it. But there is something super gritty about Monterey. It gets really creepy at night. And really? I always thought that if you positioned the area well, it could serve as excellent setting fodder for a story like this. And one night I was out walking, and I don't do it so much anymore, but I used to either run or go for walks like 1, 2, 3 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And I was checking out this used car dealership in kind of right on the edge of where Monterey and the next town over, Seaside, reside. And as I was walking back, I kept hearing something behind me, and I kept your mind starts playing tricks.
Yeah, you're like, it's just.
And I swore I saw a figure, like the outline of a shadow, kind of crossed over back behind the main dealership's building. And then I thought that was funky. I crossed the street. I kept going. I kept looking over my shoulder. I saw it again one more time, and that was it. And I just thought, well, that's maybe a short story or something. And I kept it in the back of my head. And, the more I thought about the premise of trauma or regret, and the idea, well, how far would someone be willing to go to get rid of these things?
Or what would they be willing to do, right?
Correct. How much would you, if there's a selling your soul element to it, what would you be willing to trade? And
kind of reminds me of that button. You ever see that? There's kind of a little movies that go around, and they're like, if you press this button, you'll kill a random human being, and then the person hits it. Before
I remember this movie. I didn't see it. It was in the mid 2000s. Yeah.
And the people hit the button. You're like, wait, I didn't tell you what you get.
Yeah, right.
And then they hit it a couple more times, and they're like, stop it. You're killing people.
Certain people just press it as many times as possible to get rid of the 1 or 2 people they want out of their lives.
I mean, can you give the pill to? I don't want to blow any plot lines or anything, so stop me if that's not right. But can you give the pill to maybe people you don't like?
There's no, there's no drugging.
I'm thinking I could give this pill to my siblings, and they might forget that.
Right. Yeah.
That, or I really need to forget I had to be raised around them. But
you can write the sequel then.
Yeah, I this sounds like this is a series here going on, part 1 and 2. You can drug other people with it. Oh, that's going to end badly. That takes a whole date rape drug to the next level if you're erasing people's lives. But I don't know. I run a big dating group of 5,000 people, and a lot of, like what we talk about in the show is the way people is shaped by what happens in their childhood. Mm-hmm. So now I guess let me ask this in the book. This may be hypothetical or just for fun entertainment, but if you get rid of that portion of your life, do you change as a person, or do you become that other person that they set you up with?
Well, that's kind of the philosophical question that undergirds the book. I mean, so not to get too nerdy here, but one of the things that I thought was super interesting is, with existentialism, the crux of it is we exist, and then our experiences determine who we are, right? But what happens if halfway through our lives we removed our knowledge of those experiences? Then what are we? Would there be any traces of it that would still persist even if you got rid of it? And so that's what the book's, on a very thematic level trying to figure out.
This would make one of those wild movies like Inception. Was it Inception? Or, one of those movies where they're jumping timelines and going through stuff. This would make a great movie, man. I think so. And it's been very popular. 1,000 Natural Shocks. Can you allude to us, tease out, or tell us what the title means, or do we need to buy the book?
No, I can take it to a certain line without spoiling anything. But really, I mean, it's actually not mine. I stole from William Shakespeare. It's from the famous Hamlet soliloquy, the to be or not to be one. It's like on the 6th or 7th line. Uh-huh. And it's the 1,000 natural shocks of grief and sorrow. And yeah, I mean, that was probably like the 59th title I had for the book. Yeah. And it was the one that stuck. And once you read the book and you get past a certain point, like the parallels between Hamlet and this book, I think maybe, I mean, there's not a ton of them, but there's a couple very key ones.
And it's billed as a fast-paced mystery, dark secrets, cults, killers. Sounds like Utah. Not sure what that means.
It's billed in that space, but I mean, it's funny you mentioned Inception earlier because, in my head, I was thinking I really wanted this book to. Sure, if you're looking for like a thriller, or something along those lines, there's elements of like even sci-fi or speculative in this. But if you're looking for that, it can scratch that itch. If you're looking for something literary and philosophical, I'd like to think it can do that too. Or if you're just looking to read something, I think fun, it does that. And so, like for me, Christopher Nolan's films are like maybe the best cinematic example of something like that, where you watch. Even the Batman ones, like there's stuff going on a deeper level. If you want to think about it long after, if you just want popcorn and 2 hours of entertainment, it can do that. So I would like to think that the book operates on a few different levels for the audience.
Christopher Nolan, you can pick it up on the option there. Get that going on. Yeah.
Where can I sign? Yeah.
Where can I sign? Yeah. But yeah, I think, I mean, it's definitely, we interview a lot of novelists, and that's a really unique novel. It's kind of making the hair stand a little bit on my arms. And I haven't even read the book yet. So when did you first, now this is your first book, if I understand correctly, right? Yeah. When did you first know that you were a writer and started writing? I think you did some things we mentioned in the bio. And then when did you, what led you up to this book to where you're like, I'm going to write a book and it's going to go big?
I don't know. That's a hard one to trace. I mean, like,
did you take one of those pills? You forgot already?
Yeah, no, I know. I just don't. Where do I start this answer? I guess so. Like, when I was 9 years old, Mark McGwire was my favorite baseball player, and I went to the library, and I wanted I think I had an assignment in school where you had to read a biography, and so I was like, well, I want to read a Mark McGwire biography. He was in the middle of his career, steroid scandal. And I went to the Cupertino Library. They didn't have any biographies on him. And I soon realized nobody had written one on him. And so I was only 9. And I was like, well, I'll write it. And so I started handwriting. I got 42 pages in as a 9-year-old, and I just kind of ran out of content. All I was doing was looking at the back of his baseball cards, and like each year, I was like creating stories for the stat lines, and pairing it with what the Oakland A's did. And so I knew it was always a very entertaining thing. And then when I was in college, I don't really know what made me think that this was the landmark goal, but I thought if I could finish a full-length manuscript before I graduate, that probably means I've got something here, like something worth. And so I did. It was a more of a satire deal, but finished it. Didn't really know what to do with it, and I just kind of sat around, not really knowing how to. Because becoming a published novelist isn't like becoming an executive in a company. Like I can't get an entry-level job and then become a middle manager and then a director and a VP. So I didn't know really how to climb that ladder. And so like you mentioned, I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll turn to short stories. And if I can start getting published in more selective journals, it means I'm getting better and better and better. And then I could be ready to submit a new book that is indicative of whatever skill or mastery I obtained, and that's what I did. And it just took a number of years and a lot of early mornings and late nights.
Well, you stuck with it. How many years would you say? So if there's any aspiring writers out there, they can kind of take a page out of your book there.
From the time I started writing that first one I was mentioning in college to today, that's 20 years.
Wow. Folks, it's never too late. Get in there. Start writing. The key is to start writing. What would you say to aspiring writers? What is the key to becoming an author and putting out a successful piece of work like you have? I mean, clearly people are loving it. They're giving it great reviews and all that good stuff.
I think first, fundamentally, since there's so many points along the journey that are going to tell you to stop, you have to start doing it just because it's really, really fun.
Yeah.
You know, like it has to be something that there's so many other things to do in this life, but if that's the one thing that's going to bring you some kind, like it's going to light you up somehow, you can kind of get high off of it. That should be number one. And then number two, every time you sit down to write, it's got to be to get just a little bit better. Like one sentence that was better today than it would have been yesterday. And then the last thing I guess I would say is like, don't wait for inspiration. It's daily work. Like even if you've walked to your computer or your notebook saying, I don't have anything good in me today, that's fine. But you have to put words down because it's not going to get done any other way.
I've seen that movie where you have to, sometimes you just write blah, 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 blah. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy sort of shit, Yeah, and you're just like, well, today's like, fuck you day. So we'll try again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then like it's kind of like clay. After you start to kind of form a kind of outline or model, it starts to come together. Would you say that's correct?
Oh yeah, I think it's like anything else. I mean, the more you do something, the better you get at it. So yesterday's like challenges aren't as difficult to work through today, and it just kind of keeps building it. And then I think the other thing too is writers or anybody creating tends to be really hard on themselves. So like you finish something one day and you're like, that sucked. You come back like 5 or 6 weeks later, you're like, you know what, I can work with that. It's not perfect, but I can kind of tweak that, and it's not bad at all.
Yeah. And then you kind of start playing that game where you're like, move this part over there, and it kind of becomes like this puzzle thing where you're like, oh, no, this, you move that over there, and then it all starts, turning into something,
Totally.
One puzzle piece at a time, as it were.
But you have to put those pieces on the table. So
exactly. I remember I was the only one who survived my. We had a accountability author group, and we were all trying to write our first book, and there was like 5 of us in the group, and I was the only one who would do what I called puking on the page, and I would just. And fortunately, I was kind of lucky. I've had at least stories I've carried around most of my life. And so I was able to, I kind of knew the stories because I've been telling them to people and boring them forever at parties. And so I would just puke it onto the page, and I just keep puking. And I realized that there was an editing process because, we've done the show. We know how the editing process kind of works. And I'm like, the editing's for later. Just get it all out there. Get it while it's hot. Put that stuff down, and my friends they'd write like a line, like it was the best of time. Well, was it really? Well, maybe it was the best. They would like edit like every fucking thing.
Yeah,
and they'd be like, "How much did you write today, Chris?" I'm like, "I don't know, like 10 pages," and they're like, "Really? We're still working on the first sentence and the title of the book." And I'm like, "You guys got to quit editing on the flow.
Yeah,
do that later. Just." Get it, like you say, the puzzle pieces on the table, and then you can look around, and it helps you build too. Like it helps you fill in all the pieces and connect the dots, as it were. And I was the only one who survived that accountability group. They were all gone within about a month or two, and eventually, I think one of them put a book out. I think the other one's going to put a book out soon, 5 years later. But no, hey, no shame. Yeah, just get it out, man. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter how long it takes. But yeah, it was really interesting to me, and so I always tell people that advice. I'm like, puke. I call it the puke process. Barf it onto the page. All the comment, like they would worry about where the commas and the periods were and whether or not the first thing was capitalized, and I was just like blasting shit so much that I'm like, what did I write here? It's completely misspelled.
Totally. The other, one thing too is like I think the paralysis by analysis kind of thing that you're talking about happens a lot too when people are like the project or the book they're trying to write right now in their minds is the only thing they're ever going to write in their life. And it's just like, the mistakes you make on this project are going to be why you're successful in the next one. So it's like, try to think of it as like the long range too, like you have to make these mistakes in order to get better. So just go.
Yeah. Just make the mistakes. It's kind of like entrepreneurism. Like when we start a company, I would meet people. They're like, hey, I'm going to start a company like you, Chris. I'm like, well, do it. And they're like, well, I have to wait till everything's perfect. Everything's lined up and right. And I want to make sure that if I start it, it's right. And it's like, no, you have to get in the shit. You have to jump into the pit of lions and whatever and figure a way out on the fly. And that's the only way you're going to learn. And then plus it's problem solving. I mean, you imagine writing books is a lot like problem solving in a business. You're constantly solving problems that advances. You're like, okay, well, where's the plot line go from here? Where's this character? Yada, yada, yada. And so you got to get in there because it's really just that. That's what it all is a process of problem solving.
Definitely.
And so good advice.
Sounds like you have it as well.
Well, I learned it from business. So, I've started a company or two and gone broke doing a couple. What else do we want to promote while you're here? Is there any other things you do maybe on your website? Any advice you give people maybe in consulting or coaching? Anything more we want to promote for you?
I have no more advice to give and no coaching to offer.
I pull my book out. The problem with writing a book is as soon as you launch it on launch day, they go, so what are we doing next?
Oh, I know. Yeah, right. Or like, when's the, like...
You're just like, I just got here. I just got birthed.
Exactly. I'm like, there's a fatigue already, and they're like, come on, where's the next 400 pages?
Where's the next 400 pages? Right. Let's go, buddy. 50,000 words. So that does lead me to my next question. What's the future? Is any books coming down the pike? Anything we want to tease out for future projects?
For sure. I kind of see the writing career kind of bouncing back and forth between darker stuff, lighter stuff, and so I'm wrapping up a book right now that I think is gonna, more toward the lighter stuff, but it's still a ways away before I give my agent and I start working on it. And that being said, when it comes to 1,000 Natural Shocks, there's room for that story as well if people want it.
Yeah, I got the title for your second book, 2,000.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. Double the shock.
Double the shock. They do that kitschy stuff in Hollywood. I want to see it picked up and brought to the big screen because I think it'd be fun. Like I said, I got a little hair raising on my arm just from the plot line alone. Yeah. There's only maybe 5 authors that have done that to me where they prescribe their plot for me, and I've just been like, I'm too scared to read it now. So
it's all right. It won't be that bad.
I'll live. Yeah, you're right. So Omar, give us your .coms. Where do you want people to find you on the interwebs as we go out?
Yeah, Instagram is really the best. It's Omar_R_Hussain. And it's all right there for you.
Well, thank you very much, Omar, for coming to the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. And folks, order up his book wherever fine books are sold. It's getting lots of good reviews on the Goodreads there and the Amazonian. Go check it out. 1,000 Natural Shocks, out May 6, 2025. Thanks to our for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss1 on the TikTok and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time.